What is up, guys? Welcome back to Overspray. In today's video, I'm going to show you some of my vintage collection. And not all the spray guns are very old, but we're going to start with the oldest and then kind of work our way to some of the newer spray gun. So we're just going to be talking about these three here that you see in front of you. And well, let's go ahead and get started. Alright, well, starting with the oldest of the bunch, this is a spray gun by the name of Airspray. Now, I know not many of you guys are going to know who Airspray even is, and I know I've mentioned a little bit in the past who Airspray was, but this is basically a company that used to supply painting materials and compressors and spray guns basically for the aviation industry. So Airspray, as far as I can tell, as far as the research that I have found, this company didn't really last very long. The closest or the most recent documentation that I can find is somewhere around the 1930s. I believe specifically it's about 1937 is where they kind of died off and they no longer supplied well, any documentation as far as I can see. So I'm guessing that this company probably went out of business somewhere around the 1930s. So anyway, a couple things that I find very interesting. First of all, this thing is super heavy. I would compare it to probably having a big brick in your hand, because that's about how heavy this gun is. And you notice that the trigger is pretty interesting. If you look, there's actually a dual action trigger. Now let me get closer for you guys so you guys can tell. As you guys can see, you got a trigger action right here on top, which is going to be your needle, and then a trigger action here on the bottom, which is going to allow air to pass through. So that's pretty cool that the trigger, it's a dual action trigger, just kind of like the guns that we have nowadays, except this one works slightly a little bit different than some of the more modern spray guns. Also right here you can see that the control knob, that's obviously for the fan control, and then obviously we have a pot or a gun cup. That's where you're gonna fill up your paint. And what I find most interesting about the cup is the green paint that's inside. Now I'm sure it's kind of hard to see, but you can see some green paint, and that's actually rust in there, but for the most part, a lot of green paint. Green and brown, I would say, are the most two common colors now, which leads me to believe that this gun probably was used in the military. And some key things or clues that I have found on the spray gun kind of lead me to believe that, because if you look on the side here, and hopefully the camera will pick it up. Let's get it to focus. There you go. I don't know if you guys are able to catch that, but it says war finish. And what leads me to believe that this gun was used in the military was, for one, they were using green paint, green and brown paint in their spray gun. So that is mostly the color that I find inside of this cup. So that leads me to believe that somebody, whoever was using this gun, was probably in the military, either painting tanks or some sort of aviation, aircrafts or stuff like that. So pretty interesting. And if we notice here also, you can see that the air cap is quite old in design, and the material looks to be brass, might even be bronze, but I'm gonna say that it's mostly brass at this point. Now let me go ahead and take this off. I'm trying to do it with one hand while I'm holding the camera, so it is a little bit tricky, but let me see if I can get it off. And the most interesting thing about this spray gun is the air cap, because it's actually got like an internal diffuser that comes with it. So if you look in here, you can see that this diffuser kind of sets in here into the air cap, And what this diffuser does, or at least what it seems like it does, is it separates the air under the air cap. So obviously if you look in here in the air cap, we're going to see that those holes here on the side, those are obviously going to go to our air horns, and then you have a lot of air for the air jets in the middle. And it seems like what this diffuser does is it just separates the air from those two different jets in order to, you know, control the air, I guess. And very unique. And then also we can see a little bit more in detail the spray tip and the rest of the gun design. Like I said, this gun is pretty old, right around the 1930s. I'm gonna say this gun is, so around 1935-ish, 1937, based on documentation of the company, because that's pretty much all the information I could find on Airspray. So yeah, so that is this gun here. So we're gonna go ahead and move on to the next gun. Alrighty, and the next spray gun on our list is going to be my DeVilbiss MGB 501. Now this gun is still vintage, but not as old as the Airspray back there. This gun is dated somewhere around maybe the 1960s to 1970s. The last literature I can find on this spray gun was about 1975, so I'm going to date it somewhere around that time. And as you can see, it looks almost brand spanking new, and that's because this is an old, I believe they call it old new stock or new old stock, something like that. And basically what it means is it's a old gun that had never been used, so still in the original packaging, which I do have the packaging right here. And yeah, so it was still in the brand new packaging, but it was missing the air cap. So I ended up purchasing a second gun, and that wasn't usable, but it still had the air cap on it. And so that's what I ended up doing, was getting an air cap for it. Now the only issue with this gun is it's hard to find parts. As you guys can imagine, these guns are no longer in existence, really. I'm sure some people still have them, but the parts are pretty much, you know, not in stock. You can't just, you know, go to DeVilbiss and say, hey, I need a, you know, a new seal for this thing, because yeah, they they can't help you. So anyway, I'm just gonna go ahead and show you guys these cool little features on the gun, and then we'll move on to the next one. But for the most part, this gun is much lighter than the Airspray, even though I would say that the DeVilbiss is probably about the same size, maybe even bigger, but much lighter than the Airspray. But then again, it also is missing the gun, the siphon cup on the bottoms here. So, but either or, it's still a pretty cool gun, and yeah. Alright, so let's go ahead and take a look at some of the features of this gun and what makes it tick. So as you guys can see, it's a nice aluminum body. It looks like to be polished up from the factory, and pretty cool. It also has a, I'm pretty sure you guys can't see in there, but on the bottom it's got this kind of this opening right here on the bottom, and you actually stick a flathead screwdriver in there, and there's actually an adjustment you can make in internally for the gun. Now I believe that is going to be like some sort of air pressure control or something like that inside. And then of course, you, just like any other gun, you're going to have your needle adjustment here, and then you're also going to have your fan adjustment here. And here on the bottom, you actually connect your cup. So it is a siphon feed spray gun, and so that's why it's got this little guy right there. The air cap, I'm not really too sure what kind of air cap it says, but it says DeVilbiss 30, so I'm guessing it's a 30 air cap. And I know these guns usually like to take a pretty high amount of air pressure, so I haven't got a chance to use this gun yet, but I can tell that it has been used. Basically, the gun that I took it off of, just for the air cap, you know, I bought the and taking a look at the air cap, you guys can see that on the other gun that it definitely got used. You can still see some remainder of the paint there, but you could see that the design of the air cap, pretty simple for the most part in comparison to some of the air caps that we have nowadays, but still pretty cool feature. I really like this gun, the way it looks and the way it feels, and I can't wait to get the remaining parts for it so I can start spraying with them. I've only seen one or maybe even two other videos on YouTube with this gun. I think it was a guy spraying either epoxy primer or some sort of primer on his I don't know, I think it was like an older classic car or something like that on YouTube. So that was pretty much the only video I can find on this gun. So we are going to be making more videos with some of these vintage guns, but I still have to find parts for them, that's the hard part on these guys. But once I do, we will be putting paint through them and seeing how they spray. So then we're going to go ahead and move on to our next spray gun. Alright, and the last spray gun on our list is of course going to be this spray gun right here. And I did a community post on this specific gun asking you guys if you guys knew who made this gun or who manufactured it, and only one subscriber of mine was able to tell me who manufactures this spray gun. And let me tell you, this is a German made gun made by a company called Walther Pilot. And Walther Pilot really caters to a lot of industrial finishing, and they really make some really just unique products, or really high-end products, if you will. They're basically SATA's arch nemesis, but also given the fact that Walther Pilot also mainly caters to industrial finishing, furniture and all sorts of stuff, maybe cabinets and whatnot. So Walther Pilot is well known, but not really for the automotive industry, right? And some cool little features about this gun is, first of all, you can't find these anywhere other than a specific market, right? So there's not very many of them, so it makes it a pretty unique gun. It is designed in a way that some of the classic spray guns are designed, but if you guys notice, well, I don't know if you guys can notice specifically, but this gun is actually not a vintage spray gun. It's designed like one, but it's actually not vintage. I think this specific model is somewhere around 2003, maybe 2004. So still an older gun, but not quite vintage. What I like about the gun is it's pretty unique, and the air cap is actually really unique. If you look closely, hopefully the camera will cooperate with me, but there's actually no primary jets on the air cap, right? So in the center of the air cap, no jets whatsoever. The only thing you're going to see is a little bit of gap between the air cap and the needle. So you can see right there, right where that needle is in the center, a little bit of gap in between the air cap, but as far as air jets in the center, there's non-existent. Also, you look at the horns, only one hole on the horns, so I'm really interested to see what kind of spray pattern this thing will lay down. And I'm gonna go ahead and just kind of take it apart a bit, so give me 1 second. Alright, so I went ahead and took this gun apart, and you can see how the needle is designed. Pretty interesting. Not many guns are designed in this way, at least the newer versions of these guns, right? So it's still kind of a vintage design. If you look closely, it still looks like how they used to design the guns. And then if we notice here, let's go ahead and take the air cap out. Let's see if we can. Alright, so we got the collar off. You can see no plastic whatsoever. It's pretty much an all metal design. And then if we go ahead and try to get this air cap, sorry, I'm trying to do this one-handed. So again, very good material, by the way. Looks to be stainless. and very light use. You can't see much use out of this gun, so it still looks very clean for the most part. And like I said, no air jets in the center, which I find pretty unique. So also you can kind of tell that it's designed for the industrial finishing. Obviously, like I said, no seals, no plastic parts whatsoever. Let's go ahead and take a look inside and see what we can find. You can see the tip right there, and you can still see some remainder of some lubricant that they used when building the gun. So this leads me to believe that the gun really didn't get much use out of this gun, whoever bought it originally. And you can see that this actually controls the fan pattern, so pretty unique other than that. And let's go ahead and kind of get a closer look. So the gun body, if you notice right here, it looks like there might have been something here originally. And these guns will actually come with a wooden handle, which I was expecting to find, but in this case, looks like the wooden handle might have been lost or detached from the guns at some point. So a couple other unique features about the gun. Just the aluminum body. The parts look really well machined. If you look here, you can see the adjustment knob here, if it'll focus. There you go. So really well machined. It almost looks like you can't really turn it by hand. It almost looks like you need a tool to adjust it. And but other than that, I mean, obviously this gun looks to be really unique, and I can't wait to really spray with it, because yeah, you just don't see these guns here in the States that often. They do have a rep that a Walther Pilot located in North America, but as far as automotive finishing, you will not find these guns anywhere. So obviously they're not designed for automotive finishing, and that might be the reason why you won't find them. But what I like about the gun itself is super lightweight. I mean, this thing almost feels like a toy. You know, it feels like it's just very extremely light. It's probably like one of the lightest guns I have, and honestly, I can pick it up with like a finger, and it's just super light compared to every other gun that I have. So it almost feels like a minigun, and it does have a 1.0 tip on the gun itself. So it does kind of suggest that it is somewhat of a minigun. But they do have various tip sizes and ranges for this gun. So the only thing that is stopping me from using it is it didn't come with a cup. So I gotta find a cup that actually will fit in the top of the gun, because this is some sort of special threading. And I already got a hold of Walther Pilot to see if I can buy a cup, but at this point they haven't responded thus far. So hopefully they'll get back to me, and then I'll be able to put this gun to use. Alrighty guys, so that is the vintage spray gun review. Hopefully you guys liked it. It's very unique to find these guns. These are not guns that you're going to see on a day-to-day basis. So I just wanted to share with you guys. Hopefully we should be getting some more vintage guns soon. I'm working on getting a vintage DeVilbiss and a vintage SATA as well. But as of right now, this is what I got for you guys. So hopefully you guys enjoyed. As always, stay spraying, and we'll catch you guys on the next video.